Thank you. Thank you for. Let's go ahead and start have the roll call, please.
Browning,
Yes.
Reinecke, Commissioner Wiesen,
Commissioner Wiesen here.
Donovan, Mayor Johnson,
Mayor Johnson here.
Mayor Miller, Mayor Aslett,
Mayor Aslett here.
Councilperson Stavik,
Stavik here.
Councilperson Vanderstoep, Judy Jones,
Here.
Colleen Kennedy.
Sean Jensen representing.
Commissioner Janicki was online there.
All right.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear my name called.
Great. Everyone accounted for. Good. Do we have public comment? Anyone online? Okay. All right. The consent agenda. All matters listed within the consent agenda have been distributed each member. Skagit Board of Directors for further reading and study are considered routine. And is there anyone who would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So, Peter, I'd like to pull out page 6 and page 7, if we could, on the purchase order stuff.
Okay.
Nothing else. I moved that we approve the consent agenda item except the D.
Second.
It is moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed? Hearing, seeing none. Motion passed. Thank you. All right. Next up,
Talk about the 6 and 7.
we have to talk about the 6 and 7.
So my question is on the non-purchase order invoices, what exactly, when do we not use a purchase order? What is the process on that?
Typically, it's just monthly recurring bills like utilities.
So we're switching this up. So I was just curious about, like, we have the
What do you mean? Wait, what do you mean switching it up?
well, when it says we're allowing for a designated employee other than the receiving clerk, that seems like, are we changing something there? Is that something that's always been done?
It's a change. This is a change to the policy. I believe so. I sent the policies out with the changes reflected on it about a month or so ago, 5 weeks ago.
Okay. Oh, well, then maybe I just maybe didn't get that. Or does it explain the whole process? Because I'm not quite sure as opposed to the receiving clerk that we're doing.
Chris, go ahead.
Correct. So the allowable person, that wording is so if the receiving clerk is out, the purpose of that verbiage is so that way if there's a designated employee that's taking up that responsibility while that person is not here, so they're on vacation. That's the idea behind that. Because currently, if you leave it as just the receiving clerk, then only the receiving clerk is approved to do that. You can't have a backup stand in for that person.
So we're still doing it with the receiving clerk. This is only if they're
only if it's on.
Okay. And then what is FleetNet? What exactly is that? It says procedures for FleetNet have been removed.
So that's a really old system that I think they were using back prior to 2012.
Asset management in our shop maintenance department. We moved to Faster. We moved to software called Faster.
So some board members probably know we haven't reviewed the policies and procedures for a very long time. We have policies and procedures that last time that they were reviewed was 2006. So some of these are very outdated.
Okay, so you haven't even been using FleetNet
No.
for a while anyway?
No.
Okay, so this is just, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess that is that. On the second part here. Okay, so same thing, receiving clerk would normally do it. It's when they're not in. I'm a little concerned where it says the AP clerk could modify the purchase order to match the invoice. That seems a little concerning because I think that's the whole point of having a purchase order. Is that
Right.
kind of-
So there are times where we need to make an adjustment to it matches the invoice. A lot of times that has, we actually just had something pop up with contract or invoice came in and we needed to adjust the invoice to, or we had that adjust in our system against the EREC because the invoice had a slight markup on it that needed to be adjusted for because it's written into the contract. So generally they're small changes and they should be getting those, they should not be making any changes without first talking to the purchaser. So the person who put in the EREC originally, they should never make any unilateral changes without first prior approval from either myself or from the actual purchaser.
So is that built into this process? I mean, because I could see obviously that could be an issue.
Yeah.
But somebody is going to sign off before the AP person does change the purchase order.
This is also, sometimes we get invoices and we don't get the whatever, like the full shipment that we receive. So we just make sure that what we're paying is what we actually receive.
Yeah, but it usually ties to a purchase order. It shows the amount. I'm more concerned with like the amount, you know, somebody agrees on something, they put a purchase order together. Now you have a AP person that's paying the bill and it doesn't match the purchase order.
Right. So, and what, as Crystal was just making that comment. So say we make a purchase order for bulk and we receive half. So that would be not like you'd write down and you'd make the payment for only half and then we'd go in.
Wouldn't your system already do that? Can it kind of tie that or not? No.
Unfortunately,
Oh, okay. Okay. That's
So
all.
when we come to you asking for a new HRIS system, you'll know why. That's part of it.
This is one of the many reasons why we need to use it.
Can we?
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Very good questions, James. So would you like to move to approve 6 and 7?
I'll make a motion to approve, page 6 and page 7.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? But great conversation. Thank you. All right. Next up, we have the full discussion and action items to approve the van donation.
Are we on 6A?
I got these are the ones I got. So am I on a different? Okay.
That was last month, I believe.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's the one came in the mail just recently. Okay, good. All right, next full discussion action items. Approve the personnel policy manual, which is very important, and it's been a lot of work by mostly Bill, Chris, and Crystal. Thank you. Bill, Chris, thank you. Bill, Chris, and Crystal.
Well, that's the policies. They haven't really helped. The governance committee is really doing policies. It's Jennifer that's really done a bulk of the work. So give credit where it's due. Jennifer's spent a lot of time, energy, and effort in collaboration with AFSCME, has been an equal participant in that. We sat down with them. I guess it's been a couple of weeks ago. Actually, they provided feedback along the way, but yeah, I want to give credit to Jennifer and AFSCME. They've really been instrumental in getting this policy together. I will say that we've already noticed this is a policy that was long overdue. We hadn't updated it since, I want to say 2012. And we've already noticed a couple of adjustments that need to be made here and there, but that's to be expected when you have a brand new policy that you're working through. So we're kind of making notes in collaboration again with AFSCME, and we will probably do an update to this in probably end of year. We're expecting as we kind of work through the policy, but yeah, just Lexipol. Lexipol is a system that assisted us in organizing the policies in an easily digestible format and helped us further define the purpose and scope of each policy. Employees will now have online access to manuals as well as customizable policies and training bulletins. This will allow for and assist with ensuring policies are federally compliant, and this will support transparency for all employees through online portal access. Our attorney will support us with state law changes. Management has met and reviewed concerns brought up by the union, as I stated. We will review the PPM in approximately 6 months to make any changes or address any concerns. Staff is also working towards a procedure to notify the union about state and federal policy updates that do not require union inputs to be implemented. And we recommend that the board approves the new PPM.
Soren, is it common to have you guys so involved in that? Yeah.
There's two things that wants to be on about, and I know we didn't ask for this, so I understand that. So there's one concern I have, and quite a few people have come up to me, and I know Crystal has already addressed it, but I wanted it to be in a public forum so it's understood. And that is something in the policy about searching people's cars, purses, and so on. And it's actually contrary to state law. If you look at RCW 49-44230, it spells out exactly the law for search of employees' personal vehicles. And to me, we should paste this right into the policy. The thing I was concerned about when I started researching that was not so much that we search a car, there has to be a reason for it, but in the policy, it has to be, how is it done? Who makes that determination, and so on. And I was very concerned about that. And in researching that, I see the RCW actually takes that into account. And we really should paste that right into our policy and use this as the guiding thing for that. And so my concern is you are actually voting on something that's contrary to law. And I don't like that. I'm just being very honest about it. I know you really want to put it through today, but I don't see how you can do that. So I'm brought it out in a public forum right now. I think it does need to be looked at. There's one other minor thing, and that is in the policy, and I think 6 months from now we can probably address it. There's a thing that say we need to have a B license, and we have several employees that has a C license that's been here 28, 30 years. And it just needs to be understood that they are grandfathered in. I really want that to be out there to relax people's mind about I can't just lose their job. And I think there's no doubt in my mind they're not going to do that. It's just when you see it written in black and white, it's a little bit disconcerting. So that's my comments on it. We had a great 3-hour meeting. We worked hard through a lot of things. This kind of came up after the meeting. I looked at it yesterday and today. And I think you need to look at that. Thank you.
If I may comment.
Yes, please.
So we did receive an email from Eddie Allen, the Deputy Director for AFSCME. He's actually the one that pointed out to us about the searches of employees' vehicles being illegal. After some further research ourselves, we acknowledged that is, and we, in an email, and I believe this is Rosie, the new, hi, we haven't actually formally met, but this is, I'm not sure what your title is, but I'm sorry, I didn't hear your title. Staff representative. So this was an email exchange, I think probably just prior to Rosie coming on. He sent to us, I don't think she was included in this. And we did acknowledge to him after doing some research that yes, it's illegal and that we're not going to search people's vehicles. That's something that I really probably wouldn't be very comfortable with anyways, to be honest. So we did agree in writing to the union that we would not search employees' vehicles, but that we would make this correction in, at the end of the year when we make several other corrections, because you guys approving the policy has been delayed probably 2 or 3 times now, because we make changes and then give the board and the union 30 days for review. At some point, we just need to draw the line and say, okay, we're going to approve this policy, and anything that needs to be corrected afterwards that we'll correct. So that's on that point. And then on the B license, if I'm not mistaken, it says in the driver's, it speaks about the B license in the driver's contract, which it says many times throughout this PPM that represented employees that have a contract, that contract supersedes what's in the PPM.
I totally agree with you, Crystal, on the B license, and I just wanted to bring it up so it was set here so people can actually listen to it, and it's kind of grandfathered, and that's why I thought it was important enough to bring forward. I don't think you're going to do anything, but I want to reassure people this way, and that's what I'm doing right now.
Thank you. I appreciate you bringing that up. So I would request still that the board approve the policy as is, just noting that the corrections will be made to this one policy in particular, and there's a couple of others in about 6 months, and there's probably going to be others as we work through this policy because it's brand new to us. Do you have, Rosie, would you like to comment on that? Okay. Thank you. And I'm not sure if Eddie's on or not. Eddie, would you like to comment?
Yeah, I just want to thank, like I said, I during our labor management, we had a concern, we brought it forward. I advised Crystal and the rest of the labor management team about the change in the RCW. And I think the next day, if I'm not mistaken, Crystal, you got right back to me and said that we understand that. And, you know, there's a change in there that you were not aware of, and we will follow the RCW. So it's very simple, and we appreciate that.
Great. Thank you, Eddie.
So I'm just gonna say this since this has been brought up about the searching of the cars and you don't even agree with it, why couldn't we make a motion to approve this contingent that that's taken out of this contract? And then that part is at least done. I agree with your argument to say we're changing this stuff all the time a little bit and we need to move on, but because this is such, you know, and he's shown me right here and we agree and you don't like it, why don't we just make a motion to approve it, taking it with that we're also taking that out at this time. And that way that one's done.
At the board's pleasure.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to approve the personnel policies manual contingent that we take out the section of searching personal vehicles.
I'll second that. This Janicki.
Great.
What information? Where is that section? What number is it?
The RCW is 49.
No, in our policy that we're voting on today. What is?
It's 402.3.3 inspections. Second paragraph.
Waiting on. Been moved in second, but we're holding on for just a second.
Page what?
50.
50? Because there's only what 200 and some pages in this packet, so.
Yeah, I think it's a couple 100 pages long.
I'll second that motion.
I think there was a second already.
Lisa. All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
It was opposed. Okay, great. Again, thank you for bringing that forward. Good. This would probably be a really important time to bring up the whole discussion of the class and comp study. I think that one of the things when Crystal started here last year, the board asked her to review the class and comp study to look at the organizational chart, make sure that it was the most effective and efficient use of the agency. Crystal began working with a consultant that assisted with the class and comp study and began working on a reorganization with committee made up of 3 board members. That was put on hold due to some personnel issues within the agency and per the recommendation of our attorney. In light of the recent events at the neighboring transfer agency, it's Snohomish,
Island.
That was it, Island, sorry. We're now asking Crystal to continue to assess the organizational structure of this agency and make corrections that were adopted as a result of the class and comp study. We were well on the way then, and we put it on hold. The board feels like the class and comp study was not presented to the board transparently. We're now in a public agency and we are in a public agency and it needs to be responsible with the taxpayer money and feel like it's an appropriate time to continue the work on the reorganization that began last year. This is mostly looking at just reducing the number of directors and so making it, in my mind, a less top heavy, certainly a much more a much cleaner organization. Do we need to have some discussion with this? I'd love to give Crystal our blessing to move forward and make sure that this is done for the good of the organization.
Started the policy look at. I don't see any reason why can't we start it up again and keep it going. So that's my thought.
Commissioner Browning.
Yes, please.
Mayor Miller.
Yes,
hey,
Mayor.
Sorry for the late arrival. Yeah, I think we were kind of doing that as part of the governance review anyway. We just probably need to prioritize this organizational review at a higher level.
So we're just asking to give her our blessing to move it up and get going again, right, Matt? Mayor?
That is correct.
All right. That's exactly what I was hoping we're heading for. Okay. Is there any argument or discussion?
I'm, having chaired the meeting where all that was presented in such a rush, I am very happy to have this, larger review. And when I read that article about Island County, yeah, I think this is now the time to make sure that we've got suspenders and belts and appropriate review of that particular report. So I'm supportive of it as part of the governance committee work to bring forward to the full board.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Janicki. I appreciate that.
So I think I'm a little lost here. Where are we at? Are we at the approve the 2024?
Oh, this is an add-in. This is just an add-in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, this
at my discretion is just an add-in.
Oh, okay. Very good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it requires an action item since it's not listed as an action item, but it kind of falls under that personnel policies piece and the work of the governance committee.
Yes.
I think is why it got dropped in at this point for conversation. So it is a little awkward, but I think it's an important conversation.
And I fully support us going forward with that review. I think it's important, and it's important to have the transparency it brings.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Wiesen? Okay.
Yeah, I agree. We started the policy and we had other issues to come up and we need to go back and look at it. So.
All right. Having heard from the bulk of you, let's give Crystal our blessing to move forward on this. And thank you for doing that. That's a very essential part of keeping us a good, vital organization. All right. So now back on track. We're going to approve the 2024 bylaws.
The governance committee has been working through policies of Skagit Transit. One of the early goals of the committee was to review the Skagit Transit bylaws, which had not been updated since 2011. Today, we are presenting the results of the committee's work and are asking for approval of the new bylaws. These bylaws were sent to the board and the union on May 19th for their 30-day review. Below is a summary of major changes made to this document. The non-voting union member of the board will now be approved by the board. And the membership of the board will consist in part of one council member from each Burlington and Anacortes on odd years and one city council member from each Mount Vernon and Cedro-Woolley on even years. So this year it's Burlington and Mount Vernon. Next year it will be Cedro and Anacortes for council members. Staff recommends the board approve the revised bylaws.
Questions?
So if we're going to do, so Burlington and Mount Vernon, we're doing it right now on an even year, right?
Correct.
But you want to change that. Why not just have Burlington, Mount Vernon, even Cedro and Anacortes on the odd, and then that way they would just, Cedro and Anacortes would be in this thing next year, on an odd year.
Mayor Miller, do you want to speak to that? This came
Yeah.
up in our governance.
Yeah, I'll try to answer that. It's a good question. What we were trying to do is have a balance of what we refer to as the outliers, the end of the ends of the system, where Cedro, Woolley, and Anacortes are at the ends of the system. So they would be represented with one council member, and then the middle of the system, or the metropolitan area, the Burlington, Mount Vernon, would be represented. That was the idea behind that. So there'd be a councilman.
Are you determining that based on like ridership, or how are you determining those cities like that?
Logic. The center, you've got Mount Vernon, Burlington in the center, and Cedro, Woolley, and Anacortes are almost equal distance. So geographic, it's a geographic system, fixed route system. So just having that representative represent geographic represent like we have, like most of our government organizations are set up.
Now, James, was your question that currently this is an even year and we have Mount Vernon, Burlington, and then the change would have on an odd year, 2025, Burlington, Mount Vernon. So are we making the switch where we are intentional about having Burlington, Mount Vernon 2 years in a row?
Mayor Miller?
Yeah, this is where it's really, unfortunately, I would struggle enough just to be able to log in on Zoom. I don't have the bylaws pulled up, but it was a challenging read back and forth to make sure we were trying to get that split. So I don't know if ultimately the language came out correctly of did we get to that? That's what we were trying to do. Again, if the board doesn't like that, I'm fine also. I think that's, but I believe, and maybe Mayor Aslett and Commissioner Browning can back me up, but I believe that was that was the intention, is to have a representative from council, center of the system and edge of the system each year or each term.
Yes.
I think
okay. So, but maybe, is that how it's written?
That's what I understand how it's written, but the question is, because we're in the middle of the year now, when do we change over? Do we?
Oh, January.
Yeah, that's not resolved. Okay.
Does Burlington and Mount Vernon get it 2 years in a row? Is that?
Yeah.
That's the question?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is Mayor Johnson. I'm a little confused here because it's talking about the membership of the board would consist in part of one city council member, and it says from each Burlington and Anacortes. So Burlington, Anacortes on odd years, and one city council member from Mount Vernon and Cedro Woolley on even years. So who's sitting on the board right now? Isn't it Mount Vernon and Burlington?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think the
transition period is okay.
Yeah, so Burlington will get the benefit of 2 years in a row to get us up to the right mix, and that's correct. Now I remember the conversation, Mayor Miller.
That was a while ago.
That
was the discussion. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
The only comment that I would make here is that I do have a council member that does want to sit on the board, and of course didn't qualify because we didn't qualify this year. We already had a council member from the other two cities, so I don't know that it's fair to this council member that they have to wait another year.
Well, the whole 10 years I've been here, it's always been Burlington and Mount Vernon. So Cedro Woolley's been waiting a long time. So is that?
But I do have a council member that's interested in doing it and has requested that. So I would like to at least offer that to this council member for next year, if at all possible. If not, I'll just let him know.
Well, I mean, I get the other part there of how you tried to determine that, but I don't know that that's a huge deal. I'm certainly would be in favor of the way that we just keep it right now, that we do Burlington and Mount Vernon, the even years, which would be, I'm sitting here this year. And then next year, Cedro Woolley and Anacortes would be the odd years. That would be something I would propose.
Then that doesn't that,
and
this is Mayor Johnson again, then doesn't that defeat the purpose of having one inner and one outer? So one local closer to the center and one further out from the center. Isn't that the idea behind this, Mayor Miller? Isn't that what you were saying?
Yeah, that is what the governance committee determined, that's the way to go, realizing that it's different from what we have now. It is different than what we have now. I don't support Councilman Stavik's motion.
Well, personally, I just don't think that that's a huge deal as far as the other thing, that I think Cedro Woolley and Anacortes on the odd years, because it isn't fair. And she just said that, you know, I didn't realize, I was always wondering, like, how was Burlington and Mount Vernon? And I was always wondering about the other two cities. So anyway, I'll stick with what I said. Cedro Woolley and Anacortes should be on the odd years. I mean, if Burlington and Mount Vernon have been doing it all these other years and we haven't let the other two participate, it's certainly their time, and I don't think they should have to wait any longer after this year. Thank you.
More discussion?
Well, if it matters, and it's not a big deal to me, I have a council member who would also be interested in being on that. Again, we're creating bylaws, so it should go beyond any personality or any individual that wants to be on the board. I would just present to the board, does it make sense to do that? And that should be the discussion, not necessarily the individuals that are on the board now. Because we're trying to make foundational changes for the betterment of the agency.
I think your intent was really good. And so I'm leaning towards just leaving it the way that it has been brought forward, because we want to have a real dominant using city with one of the lesser using cities, so that we've got a good coverage. And that makes more sense from an organizational. And Mayor Miller, your point is, this is policy where it goes beyond personalities and goes beyond the immediate. It looks into long term, and the long-term benefit here. The long-term benefit here would be to have a dominant and less dominant city both represented in the board. Mr. Wiesen.
This is the middle of 2024. Could you say you will do this starting immediately? But that would change who's in the position right now and so forth. I'm just trying to, but then you can come in 6 months. So that's what I'm just throwing something out there, because I understand Cedro Woolley's concern in Anacortes too. So I'm just throwing something out there.
Mayor Miller, any thoughts on that?
I have a question. So the terms are through from January to the end of the year, right? So then the mayor would just have to make sure that they appointed someone that wasn't going to term out in December if it were to go to the following June, if that makes sense.
Say that one more time.
So the mayors appoint the council members, right, to our board.
Yeah.
The mayors would just have to make sure that whoever they appointed wasn't going to term out at the end of the year if we go from July 1st to June 30th.
Not suggesting we do that. I'm just saying starting for 2024.
Oh, I apologize. I thought you meant starting July 1st.
Trying to get it into sync is what I was trying to get at. Because otherwise you're 2 years out, but that's just an idea.
Mayor Miller, can I just ask a clarifying? You had me so sold on the central region and then the 2 endpoints, and then I missed the rationale. I mean, the committee decided, but what was the rationale for that? Because I still like Cedar Woolley and Anacortes starting as soon as possible, and having a voice finally at the table. I guess I missed the part about why it was decided to mix the representation differently.
Well, again, I've been in government a long time, so I don't try to reinvent the wheel, and I just look at how we represent, where we have wards, we've got commissioner districts. You know, it's again a geographical geographical diversity. That was the main rationale. Again, it's not a giant thing. You know, I'm not trying to knock the door in on the board saying we've got to have an Anacortes representation right now. I'm good with easing it in too. Again, long term, thinking in the long term.
Bill, you were part of this discussion, Mayor.
Yeah, during our conversation, I'll kind of mirror what Mayor Miller stated. We were looking to try to get the composite, the makeup of the council members matched up. What I didn't realize is that there was a gap from others actually appearing on being represented on the council, because in the past, I thought there was either not interest, or I wasn't sure why they had appointed Burlington and Mount Vernon as being the only ones. So I wasn't aware of the concerns from Cedar Woolley and Anacortes, but certainly hearing those, I can understand, and the fact that we would be delaying them with the current mix. I'm probably okay with I'm thinking probably doing the switch. The trouble is that then we're kind of defeating the rationale of the decision we made, which was trying to split them up so that we had both core cities and one of the distant cities. And I think that what Mayor Miller said is the intent of having the board makeup be an enduring thing rather than the initial need probably makes sense.
But let me make a suggestion that might work. Let's go ahead and transition to Cedar Woolley and Anacortes for this next year, and then the following years implement this, and then we'll split them up so that Cedar Woolley and Anacortes will have a full year of being involved, and then after that we'll go ahead. So we'll bump this process forward 1 year when I'm in this role, and I'll make sure that happens.
Can you say that one more time?
We'll just go ahead and leave it the way it's planned right now, where Anacortes and Cedar Woolley will be in the next years. And then the following year, 2026, we'll implement this, because Cedar Woolley and Burlington, Cedar Woolley and Anacortes will have had a year of being in that role. And then the following year, we'll go to this new plan of splitting up the core cities with one of the peripheral cities.
Okay, we'll have to figure out a way to draft that into the policy so that it's
yeah.
That's the only thing that's a little.
But has Cedar Woolley been on?
You were there. You remember how difficult it was to get the language.
Yeah.
So that it made sense to everybody.
Just change the implementation date to. Matt, would you be okay with that, Mayor Miller?
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense to me, but it is difficult, surprisingly difficult to read for should be a fairly simple bylaw, couple of sentences.
Yeah. All right.
So what we'll make those changes and then we can do that.
Good. All right.
Another point, I know LaConner at one time was interested in being on the SCAT board too, but that's just something else. I mean, you expand, how do you say who, where, whatever. So I'm just bringing it up.
That was part of our initial discussion. Like, do we let all four representation but then you end up with the board that just continues to get bigger and bigger. And
I will state that it's very reasonable and possible that people can attend as non-voting members of the public, and they can request to be on the information sharing, as far as the material for the meetings, and be an active part, because every meeting has a public comment portion to it. Yep. And the ability to speak on each of the items. So sometimes I always have thought that if somebody wants to be an active participant in local government, they don't necessarily have to be elected for it. They can come in and speak on the topics being discussed.
All right. With that, let's go ahead and move on. Is there anything else that is part of our policy, part of our bylaws that need to be addressed? Okay, I would certainly entertain a motion to approve the bylaws with that change.
I'll make a motion to approve the bylaws with the changes that have been discussed.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Great. Again, good discussion. Thank you. All right, let's move on. We've got approved policies, the April budget update. I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong place. Approve the contract with Allied Universal Security Services Extension. Chris, do you give us an idea who they are? Or?
Allied Security is the security firm that does MOA2 Skagit Station.
Correct? I just read it. In May of 2023, the board approved contract 23-015 in a special meeting allowing Allied University Security to perform security services for us through May 31st, 2024. Staff is asking the board to approve a contract extension through December 31st, 2024 to allow adequate time to complete the procurement process in line with Skagit Transit's procurement policy and applicable state laws. Thank you. The delay was due to a prolonged absence, employees still out, of a key staff member before interim support could be arranged, preventing the initiation of a competitive process and posing potential risk of work stoppage or unauthorized expenses. Staff recommends the board approve the extension of contract 23-015 for Allied Security Services. The estimated budget impact is $181,203, which was already accounted for in the 2024 budget. And for those that were with us last year when we did this special meeting, Allied is on the state contract.
Yep. Need a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the contract 23-015 with Allied Universal Security Service.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved by Mayor Aslett, seconded by Commissioner Wiesen. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing, seeing none, that passes. Great. We need Crystal, the contract 18009, Don's Group Attire Extension.
This is going to be another one. Don's Group Attire provides Skagit Transit branded uniforms for our employees. Our contract with them began February 1st, 2019 and ended January 31st, 2022 with the option of 2 additional years. Our records indicate that this contract did not go to the board in 2018 as originally thought. The current extension is from May 5th, 2024 to September 30th, 2024. This extension is also being sought due to an employee being out long-term. We do have an interim in right now that's helping us to clean up a number of contracts, and we're going to have at least one more for you. So staff recommends the board approve the initial contract, including this extension to contract 18-009 for Don's Group Attire. Estimated budget impact is $16,085 for 6 months, which was already included in our 2024 budget.
Is this kind of like a sole source provider too? They have all this uniforms and all of that, so it's not like this never had
not a sole source. It went out for bid.
I wanted to bid. Okay,
it went out for bid, but we're asking for an extension so that we can go out for bid again.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve the contract 18-009 Don's Group Attire Extension.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Wiesen, seconded by Commissioner Janicki. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? No one's opposed? Great, thank you. All right, on to contract number 18-001-P, the Guardian Alarm Systems Extension.
Contract 18-001P has been in effect since May 1st, 2028 or 2018 rather, and ended May 31st, 2024 ends, I should say. Oh no, ended, yeah, that's right. Guardian Alarm Systems, Inc. has been providing fire protection system services to our MOA and Skagit Station. Staff is asking the board to approve the extension from June 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024 to allow time to follow the competitive procurement process as stipulated in our procurement policy. Same language as the other two. Staff recommends the board approve the extension to contract 18-001-P for Guardian Alarm, estimated budget impact not to exceed $4,500. And again, that was already included in our 2024 budget.
Great, thank you. Questions? All right, and entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve contract 18-001 for Guardian Alarm System Extension.
This is Mayor Johnson. I'll second.
Great, it's been moved by Mayor Aslett and seconded by Mayor Johnson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Great, hearing none. Fantastic. Now, to approve the change to grant approval process.
So this one I brought up to the board last month during my verbal report out. To improve efficiencies in applying for grants for MOA2, staff is requesting the board remove the requirement to gain board approval before applying for MOA2 grants. This will remove any unintended barriers to submitting grants, such as short deadlines, and will prevent us from missing deadlines and potentially missing out on critical funding for this project. As always, the board will need to approve any grant funds being awarded to us and will be informed of any grants that are being sought. Staff recommends the board approve the change to the grant approval process by removing the requirement to get board approval before grants are, before we apply for grants. The estimated budget impact is none at this time.
Questions?
Big fan of grants for sure. And I know you, I do recall you bringing that up. I know we do the same thing in the city. I always kind of wonder about some of that I certainly don't want to hold up that process. So this is a no-brainer to me. I'm going to make a motion that the board approve the change of the grant approval process.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so motion moved by Councilman Snavik and seconded by, I think it was Commissioner Mayor Johnson. Thank you. All right.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? No one? Good. Down to the end here, we've got approval for new signers to the bank account. Crystal.
To ensure transparency in agency operations and to make sure adequate signatures are available in the absence of an authorized account signer, the board chair and vice chair will be added to Skagit Transit's bank account as authorized users. The board chair and vice chair will be added to the 4 following accounts listed here. After approval, meetings will be scheduled with the bank to get them onto the accounts. When a new vice chair and vice chair are selected in the new year, the same process will be followed to add them to the accounts. And I want to make it clear so that we're making this just a blanket approval so that we don't have to come to the board every year when there's a new chair and vice chair. We'll automatically add you guys to the account and remove the old would be chair. Staff recommends the board approve the board chair and vice chair as signers on Skagit Transit accounts. No budget impact.
Questions about that?
This a single signer can get access to the account, or you have 2 signers, or what?
Right now we're proposing 2. So right now it's literally just he and I. So yeah, it would help to have another signer.
Yep, that makes sense to me.
Good. So it'll be Matt and I, and then it'll automatically change, but nothing comes to the board for approval. We just automatically do it because then it makes much more sense to me. Okay. Any other questions? And if not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve new signers to the bank account.
This is Mayor Donovan.
Miller.
I'll second.
Great. There's a motion by Mayor Miller, second by Mayor Donovan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing, seeing none. Fantastic. We are down to the last and final here. Approve a new CAC member.
On June 11th CAC meeting, at the June 11th CAC meeting, the CAC voted to recommend the board directors approve applicant Irene Prokuski for committee membership. Irene has extensive mass transit rider experience and organizational skills to bring to the table for the benefit of the CAC and Skagit Transit. Staff recommends the board approve Irene Prokowski as the new CAC member, no budget impact.
Questions? A motion?
I'll make that motion. This is Mayor Johnson.
I'll second that.
Great.
This is Janicki.
Motion by Mayor Johnson, second by Commissioner Janicki. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Fantastic. We are through that part of the business.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you much. Yes, great. Thank you. All right, now to the information items. CEO update.
I will try to be brief in the interest of time. I typically give MOA2 updates first, since that's kind of one of our biggest topics. I'm going to allow Eric, our new project. First of all, I want to introduce Eric. He's our new project manager. I'm going to allow him to give the update on MOA2, and then I'll follow up after that.
Okay.
Thank you. So we are in the process of wrapping up phase 1, which is the exterior shell. We're expecting that to be wrapped up by probably mid to late August for substantial completion. We do have a few change orders coming your way soon, but we're assembling those and vetting those out. We are also in the process of completing phase 2 and 3 design. Design is expected to go in for stormwater here in the next week, with the design for the interior and north lot, which encompasses a lot of the bus parking, the wash building, and some other infrastructural items that we're planning for EV charging and potentially some other alternate fuel sources. That is expected to go into permit late July. So pretty excited about that. If you do get a chance to get up onto the hill and come and see the building, it will be progressing with the siding is all being installed over the next 3 weeks. So in about 3 or 4 weeks, you're going to see a major transformation, because most of that siding is available now and being installed. So pretty excited as we embark into the new era of getting things done. So that's my update, I guess.
Well, thank you and welcome. It's good to have you here.
The building is looking really good. Eric and I were down there, and Greg, our maintenance director, was down there. I guess it was Monday. Was it last? I don't know. The days all kind of run together now, but the building's looking really good. Eric's only been with us for about 3 months now, but he has really just taken this project on full. I know it feels like forever. He's really taken this project on full force. He's gone above and beyond to keep the project on task, and I want to acknowledge him for his efforts. I know that the board was hesitant. There was a lot of discussion. I think I had to bring this position to the board 3 different times to get it approved, but bringing him on is 100% been a good decision for us. He's got many years of experience, innovative ideas to help us transition our agencies to zero emissions, and he has demonstrated a high level of dedication. Eric was supposed to be off yesterday, but he came in and he was here until I think 9 o'clock last night. So thank you for everything that you've done for us so far. Keep up the good work. As he mentioned, I mentioned last board meeting that we were going to have change order 10 for you. That was not ready for this board meeting. So you guys will see change order 10 and 11. presented to you at the next board meeting. We'll get costs and all that for you at the next meeting. Still along the same lines of MOA 2. Myself and my grants manager met with representatives from the Build America Bureau a few weeks ago to further explore the option of applying for a TIFIA loan. After providing the Bureau more information regarding our agency and population for our county, it looks like we will qualify for a waiver for the independent financial analysis, which would have cost as much as $250,000. We'll know for sure once the application is complete. Of course, it'll come to the board before we move forward with the full application, but yeah, it looks like we will not have to pay that $250,000, which is exciting. Any questions on MOA 2? If not, I'll move on. So I already introduced Eric. I want to take a moment to introduce Stevie down at the end. She replaced Brad. She's our new planning and outreach supervisor. She's she worked remotely for about a month, but has been on site. This is going to be not even your full, doesn't really count as a first full week because you didn't work yesterday, but so she's only been on site for a couple of weeks, but already has proven to be an asset to the organization, and we're happy to have her on board too. Do you want to say anything, Stevie?
Sure. Just thrilled to be here. I have a background in planning, scheduling, operations. So working to be collaborative on the inside, repair some relationships that seem to be damaged, and, you know, just hoping to contribute.
He already is. Unfortunately, we were not successful in the director of finance recruitment. Our recruiter reposted the position, and we have 3 more candidates that we will be interviewing. Laura is still working with Steve Sexton and Commissioner Janicki's staff to get that scheduled, and I think it's looking like potentially next week. So it should be next week. Okay, 3 or 4. Anyways, there's other applicants that are interested in the position. Our grants manager is still working remotely, but we're hoping to have her on site as soon as possible. All 6 bus drivers from the last class have graduated, but one decided it was not a good fit for him, so he resigned. We had interviews this week for bus drivers, and we're going to start another class of 3 or 4 in July. On a negative note, Laura has given her notice. She's leaving us. She's going to, can I tell them why? It's not because of us. She loves us. She's moving to Florida to be closer to her family. So it was I think a tough decision for her, but she's given plenty of notice. She's not leaving until July 9th. After July. So she'll be with us for another couple of months. We've already posted that, and we've received quite a few interested applicants. We're hoping to have a little bit of overlap so that Laura can kind of pass on her organizational knowledge to the new person. So we're sorry to see her go. Moving on to the triennial. The auditor did ask for additional or supporting documentation last week. I met with staff on Tuesday to review the request, and we're still pulling all of that together. We are still scheduled for an on-site visit June 25th and 26th. In the stuff that they did ask for, nothing concerning. It's really just, there was some questions about the EO policy and a couple of other things, but nothing that we're too concerned about. The state conducted an on-site visit to audit our capital assets in early June. There was an issue with our procurement files not being complete, but that was corrected and the auditor was satisfied with that. We did not have any findings. Governance, I'm going to keep going. If someone wants to stop me, but I'm trying to adhere to the time. The board approved 3 new policies today. I will be sending out approximately 10 more in the coming weeks to allow the board and the union a 30-day review. The goal will be to have these presented to the board in August for approval. As I mentioned last month, it's been really challenging to get all those done. It's been hard just to get the governance committee scheduled to be able to review those, but we'll continue trucking through those. And I think we were required to have those done by September 30th. So I'm going to be asking the board for an extension on those. We still have a lot to update.
My suggestion on that is to have a list. And so if things come up, you can work on them, and so we can approve them when they come up. Because
yeah, that's what we're doing.
Policies always change. So
that's what we're doing. So we're looking at them internally. Then they're going to the governance committee. Then they're going to you guys in the union for the 30-day review. Then they're going to the board for approval.
have a tickler list, so if there's something new that comes up, you can keep at it.
Okay, we can do that. I drafted meeting with community transit. I mentioned this to the board last month. I drafted an interlocal agreement that would allow community transit to provide service to the portion of the Sauk-Suiattle reservation that's in our PBTA rather. I sent the interlocal agreement to our attorney for review, and community transit is currently reviewing the agreement. They hope to get approval from their board the first week of July, and hopefully we can bring it to this board in July for approval as well. On to ridership. A full ridership report has been provided for April and May, but I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. Our fixed route ridership is still down about 35%, and paratransit is still down about 9% pre-pandemic. Again, a full financial report is included in the packet, but I wanted to highlight a couple of things. Sales tax revenues are up 5.6% year over year and just over 1% year to date. Chris and I are going to try to work together to get, I wanted to do it this month, but we're not able to pull it together fast enough. Kind of a mid-year review of what our finances look like. So we'll work on putting a presentation together for the board next month. During the pandemic, the agency made the decision to reduce our rideshare fleet from 56 to 36, and those 20 vehicles were sold at auction. As a result, we lost almost $215,000 in state funding. We do have a plan in place to grow our fleet back to pre-pandemic levels, but this is dependent on grant funding and will take several years to do so. We sold 9 vehicles rather at auction this month. 2 were staff vehicles, 7 were rideshare vehicles, and we received $91,200 in revenues. We will use the allowable funds to purchase another rideshare vehicle for one that was wrecked and totaled by one of our rideshare drivers last year, I think it was. Community events, the long-range transit plan. We received the first draft of the long-range transit plan a couple of weeks ago. We asked for a couple of corrections to be made and should get that back soon. We are still planning on conducting some additional outreach before the report is finalized, along with recommendations. And the last thing I have is just to highlight some of the community events that we're going to be participating in between now and the next board meeting. The neighborhood district event in Everett, June 20th, the Logger Rodeo Parade in Cedro-Woolley, July 4th, the Guaymas Island Community Event on Guaymas Island, July 6th, the Touch a Truck in Mount Vernon, July 13th, and the Concrete Youth Activity Day on Concrete, July 18th. And that concludes my verbal report out. Thank you.
Questions?
I have a comment I may like to make. I hear a lot about we can only have 86 drivers for Skagit Transit. And I think we are hurting a lot by PFMLA out on sick leave. And I think, I'm sure the cities and counties has the same issue. And I think that needs to really be looked at because we are trying to fulfill the PFMA at all time. And somehow we need to get out of that. Somehow the structure needs to get changed. And I think there needs to be an open discussion about that moving forward, how we can do that and not just say 86. There's some new numbers that's coming in that has to be taken into account. So thank you.
All right. All right. Laura, sorry you're leaving, but family's important. I appreciate very much the reason for leaving. And welcome to both of you. It's really great. I got a great feeling for this. It's going to start going by leaps and bounds. We're going to be in great shape. Jennifer, thank you always. You're great. And Chris, you've taken this on and really, you just own this to the finance thing. I really appreciate it. I remember the first couple of weeks you did have a bit of a glazed stare and it's gone. And then it's really good. And Crystal, you're always a treat to talk to. Every time I talk to you, I get jacked up because your enthusiasm is just endless. And that really does matter. That's what keeps this place going. It makes it fun. And I really appreciate always looking for a new way to make things better. So we're doing well. All right.
I do it with my staff. I could not do any of this without them. So I want to thank them too. And we missed Miss Judy has her.
Still have Judy, and Judy, you were missed last time, and welcome back, and you're well and everything.
Oh yes, thank you. And I appreciate you saving the best for last. No,
We always
just
do.
kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding. The most important thing that you did, thank you very much, was to give us our new member. I'm very excited about that. It's the first time since I've been with the CAC that we've actually had a full slate. So I think we've all collectively together been doing a lot of work on that. And you have my report. It's got some details on some things we've discussed. A couple things. Number one, I always encourage my members now to like and subscribe to the Skagit Transit YouTube channel, because what it's going to do is it's going to raise its profile on YouTube, and it's going to get more exposure that way, in that particular platform. So that would be a good thing to do. The other thing that with our members, I just appreciate each one of them, and I'm glad we have a full slate now. Thank you all for making that happen.
Great. Thank you. And we are still doing plenty to make sure that we address everybody with any form of disability.
I will say the advisory committee this is not a committee for people with disabilities.
No.
This is a citizens committee. So I wanted to kind of correct that perception.
But I still want to make sure that that really is what you bring to the table, and I really appreciate that. So
well, thank you.
Very good. So, all right. Well, thank you for keeping the Citizens Advisory Group going, and we will see you again in 1 month.
Yep.
And with that, we'll go ahead and adjourn. We'll be back. I'm not sure what the date is. It's not listed.
July 17th. July 17th.
July 17th. We will all be back here on July 17th, back with our very accomplished leader, Mr. Miller. All right. Thank you all.